Okay, so should we do the making mainstream work corridor? Yeah. I suppose my big takeaway from this was around like inclusivity and making sure that the systems and the practices are set up in such a way that inclusivity is just an everyday occurrence in the classroom. I thought it was quite interesting up at HPSS where they have every student has an IEP, and I suppose my wondering from that is I'd really like to see what that actually looks like, kind of like boots on the ground, because I think it's an incredible idea, but yeah, how does that work day to day?
Yeah.
And are there limitations around that, and if so, how do they factor that into their program?
Yeah, my thought around that was, what does that look like next year when, you know, with attrition, you know, teachers drop off, you've got new teachers that you've got to bring into that whole pedagogical shift and in practice. Do you have a consistent model and framework that everyone works to? Thinking about? Yeah, so it was something to consider.
Yeah, I guess also a teacher's priorities will be varied, so an IEP from one year to the next year might not
Yeah.
Yeah, actually I've got a case at the moment where we're using the IEP as a bit of a focus, and from one meeting to the next, they've removed so much of the IEP. Like, oh, this is actually relevant now, you know. So I wonder how, I guess, responsive they are to those things, because that would be an ongoing administrative job, right? To keep that pathway up. So yeah, great stuff. Certainly great stuff, and it certainly lies with our work with that UDL kind of ecological approach and meeting needs of everyone. But
I thought when Vanna was sort of talking about communication as well, because and she sort of said like, well, communication might seem obvious, but it's actually not. Like, you might have to be quite explicit with whānau to be like, please share like the highlights that are happening at home with us, or like that was sort of something that I've taken into my practice, because, you know, like it's quite easy, I think, when we're in this system to assume sometimes that parents might share the celebrations with us, or you know, the teachers might share that, and being really quite explicit about that, I think, is something that I've taken.
Yeah, I guess that comes back to relationship and so making sure that you build those relationships so that people do want to share with you, and the time to, you know, making the time to have those face-to-face engagements.
It's about changing that reporting from this one-way process of us reporting to the parents, them not really feeling involved but just receiving it, to it being partners in the upbringing, I guess.
And that probably leads us back to, we'll talk about it soon, but working in a specialist school, it felt like when we were talking to Joe, that the whānau were part of the IEP, they're part of the learning and part of the documenting of information, and it was a real collective approach.
That was like a wondering I had, because traditionally, or I suppose historically, we've had quite strong involvement from whānau, like low in primary school years, and as kids transition through to intermediate and to secondary, that whānau participation doesn't look the same.
No.
And I wondered, like, you know, if there were whānau who were reluctant to be part of that IEP process, how they kept them on board, or how they ensured that they were active in that process. So yeah, I wondered how they did that.
I guess as a school, that's a commitment that you have to make, right? It depends where your energy lies.
True.
It's almost a human resource issue, like that key person needs to be approachable, they need to build those relationships up. It's no good if you have a personality clash at that level.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just one other area was around making mainstream work. Feels like a lot of our schools have this influx in all students, and it's I guess there's a tension between we want to do the best for these kids, but we're finding it hard with resourcing and whatnot. And so I've got a conversation at the moment with a school, and they are getting a new classroom, and they're basically going to create a siloed space for their Oars kids, which was a bit alarming.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just because the classrooms are becoming quite dysregulated, because they haven't obviously been able to plan for these kids that are coming in. So yeah, it's been a challenging discussion at that level of what are we doing for these kids, and we need them to be seen and visible and valued in the space, but I don't know that siloing them is the right approach. So yeah, it's a bit of tension.
Yeah, one of the schools that I worked at, had something similar, but they used it, the kids were in their classes, but those unsettled periods, you know, like Friday afternoons tend to be a bit chaotic and a bit much for a lot of these children. They would come together and do a specialist cooking session.
Sure.
And it was like specially designed to meet their needs, and it also removed their triggers. Potentially, but they, for the rest of the time they were in class, it was a space, it was a safe space, rather than their space.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, some schools do that really well. I guess it's just managing the diverse needs of a
Yeah.
Well, it's the nuanced detail in it, isn't it? Because the space itself may not necessarily be an issue. It's how you wrap around that space and what that looks like. And I think it was this kura where their sort of high needs, special needs unit was front and centre at their school.
Yeah.
And so everyone walking past, that was just like a natural part of like their day to day. So
Yeah, I've seen that done really well at a school, a new build in the Waikato.
oh,
And
cool.
they had, you walk through the gates, there was a cafe, and next to that was a space where all their kids, all their horse kids were, like really visible.
Yeah.
Part of the community. It was a big sort of courtyard, so
Yeah.
something to
Cool.
reflect upon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool.